That transition always throws me off. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining us today for another Believe in Serverless live stream where we talk with real world practitioners about how they're using serverless and serverless adjacent tech. Today we have Olivier with us. Hi, Olivier.
Hi, Daniel.
And where are you dialing in from today?
Yeah, so I'm from France. I live in Lille, in the north of France.
Awesome. Yeah, great to have you. And
Thank-
today we're going to be chatting about Q Developer and diagrams.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to share my discovery about how I use diagram with QDeveloper. So I hope this will be interesting for everybody.
Awesome. And we're going to try to make this as interactive as possible. So if you're joining us live and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat and we will both do our best to keep up with it and answer it in real time. And if not, I think we might have some time at the end, TBD on that. But yeah, awesome.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice. Should I bring up your slides here?
So yeah, I think we can start. I will show you a few slides and then we'll get into some demos. And so thank you first for having me. And as I said, yes, I wanted to share my experience with QDeveloper and especially with diagrams. So I will show you 15 slides, maybe just to give you a bit of context, and then we'll get into the demos and show you how it works. So just to give you a quick introduction of myself, I'm Olivier Lemaitre, so I'm independent consultant. I'm an AWS user group leader in France, and I'm also an AWS community builder. So I will talk about how to build applications and especially serverless applications. So I just want, as a reminder, give you what are the application components that I have in mind when I build an application. So you have first the code. So I always and often take this example of a feedback application. So if I want to build a feedback application, I will need an application code, for example, Python. And in this code that you see in the middle, you see that I prepare an item, a feedback item, and then I store this into a DynamoDB table. Okay, but to run this code, I will need some infrastructure. So I choose to work with a serverless infrastructure. So in this case, to run this code, I will need a Lambda function, and to store the feedback, I will need a DynamoDB table. And the same way so I can create this infrastructure manually. I mean, going to the AWS console, for example, but I can also code my infrastructure. Okay, so you have many options, and what I use and what I will use in the demo is what we call the CDK, Cloud Development Kit. So this is a way to declare your infrastructure. Okay, so for example, if I have some code example here to create my Lambda function, so it's Python code again, and some sample code here to build and create my DynamoDB table. So behind the scene, you have the CDK, but the CDK works with AWS. So the AWS CDK works with AWS CloudFormation. So in fact, you're writing Python code, but behind the scene, you're creating CloudFormation templates, and that will create the infrastructure, serverless infrastructure to run your code. So, so maybe just a few benefits of the CDK, because I don't know if a lot of people will use today your CDK, but why do I like it and why it is interesting? First, because the CDK, as you can see, you can work with the same language that you have in your application code. Okay, so I use Python code for my code here, and Python code for my infrastructure code. The other benefit that I like is that when you are, I'll give you an example. When you're working with CloudFormation directly or Terraform or something like that, you describe in a static web file, you describe, for example, a VPC, okay, in one entity. And when you execute this static code, when you want to create a VPC, you get a VPC. So no surprise here. But when you're working with the CDK and you want to create a VPC with some, for example, here, so Python code, okay, with my VPC, it will create a VPC, but also the subnets, public subnets, the root tables, everything that you need to start an application in your VPC. So that's what we call a construct, and that's very handy. You know, you go faster this way. So, and the last benefit that I want to point out is that when, for example, I give again the same example, I want to create a feedback application. So I have an endpoint here. I have a Lambda that will record my feedback and a table where I will put my feedback. So in my CDK code, I will write things like this. For example, I want to associate my post, my method of my API to my Lambda function. So I just write this. And what is interesting is that it will automatically create the resource policy with least privilege principle. Okay. And you may, you know, when you're working with CloudFormation or Terraform, maybe you have to manage this by hand. This is very interesting to have this automatically created that relieves your mind in some way. And again, the same thing when you want to grant access to this Lambda, for this Lambda to be able to record the feedback into the DynamoDB table. When you write just this line of code, it will automatically update and create the policy with, again, the least privilege principle. So I can keep this I can keep an eye on this part, of course, because it's about security, but that relieves, again, my mind about how to manage this. So this was the main reason why I use the CDK. And that works well, again, with the demos that I will show you. So now we're going to go into the demos, okay? And I will use a folder, a repo, sorry, that I created in GitHub. That means that it's public repo, that everything that I will be doing now can be done by anyone, okay? As long as you install Q developer, and maybe what I show here can be executed with any kind of coding assistant, but I didn't try it. So just a reminder, this is a GenAI. So the results may not be always perfect and deterministic. So that means that if you are doing the same thing, maybe you won't get exactly the same result, but it will be quite similar.
I'm trying to find the link. Did you have a link?
Yeah.
I can drop it in the chat so if folks want to
Yeah.
look at it.
So give me 1 second because I prepared that, but I will maybe.
You got a lot of people that love to just kind of hack on things.
Yeah, exactly.
Myself included.
Yeah.
So, I
So
think I see it, maybe.
You see it?
I'll plop it in the chat and you can tell me if it's the right one.
Yeah, this is this one. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, what I so exactly you can do what I do. Not maybe at the same time that I'm doing it now, but almost. I mean, this is exactly the thing that you are you will be using if you want to test it. So let's get into the demos now. So the slides are
All
done.
right, I'll remove. Should I remove them or?
No, I think
Whatever.
yeah, I think it's ready. So you
Awesome.
have yeah, perfect. So I'm in VS Code, so you have to know that Q developer can be used with different IDEs, but in my case, I use VS Code. So
Can you bump
yeah,
up the text a little bit?
yeah, I
If
don't.
not, no
If you,
worries.
yeah, um,
Yeah, it's always smaller on the live
mm,
stream. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
tell you for Windows. I can tell you for Mac. I think it's like Command Plus, but yeah, I don't know for Windows.
yeah.
If anyone in chat knows, let us know.
Yeah, because I guess this is let's try it like this because where it will be interesting is not in the terminal, it will be in the chat. It should be a bit bigger.
Oh,
Okay,
cool. Okay.
but yeah, but okay, so I will explain, but okay, let's start like this. If you don't see, I mean, if it's not big enough, you just let me know in a few minutes. But let's start like this. Um, so the idea, yeah, the Q developer, you have to install a plugin, okay, like with again any coding assistant, and you have access to the chat, okay. So Q developer is something that is behind the scene. You have multiple models. I don't know exactly how many models and which model, but at least you have models like Claude 3 Sonnet. Okay, so when you're asking a question like what is a 3, you have behind the scene an LLM that will be answering you like you can do this on any other LLM, ChatGPT or um, Claude, etc. So you have the same answers. I don't know if it's big enough. I don't know if I can go bigger with this, but
Yeah, I
this the
think
idea
it's
is
big
not to,
enough for me. So,
yeah. Okay, but okay. So the so this is the kind of question you can ask, but of course you can. So I will clear this. So whatever the answer, you can ask any kind of question like you would do on LLM, any LLM, and
and when
then
you clear that, like, does it keep your question history?
you have
Okay,
a
cool.
chat history here. Yeah,
That's
you can
helpful
go back
then.
to you can do this exactly. And then there is a first. So again, I don't know if it's big enough, but you have what we call workspace. Okay, and workspace relates to all the code that you have in your folder. Okay, so so in this case, maybe it's small, but I have a landing page, and with the again, this is a feedback application. So I have two Lambda functions. I have a template, which is a SAM serverless application model template, and I can. So with the workspace is an index where I have all these files, in fact. Okay, so I will ask a question, which is, what does this application do? Okay, so what does this application do? And then you see in the context contains all the files of my folder. So again, you don't need to read all of these. Just trust me that you have all the files that are in my folder. So I have a textual description. So what I prefer to do, and this is the way I work, I prefer to use diagrams. And that's where we're going to start to talk about diagrams. So this time, what I will do, so I will reuse, so I will clear this. And my question is, my prompt is, can you generate a mermaid sequence diagram of the application? Okay. So again, it takes the same context. That means all my files here. I have one file that I've prepared. A markdown file where I can put the result. And this is, so mermaid diagram is code to describe the diagram, something that you can put in a README file, for example, is very interesting. So I will insert, so there is a button where I can say insert cursor, so add cursor. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so this time I can do things bigger. And I see it's application. So I call an API gateway, then I invoke a landing page function, which is in a Lambda function. I return an HTML page. I display this to the user. I fill my name and my feedback. I click on the button, and then I call again the API gateway. I call my Lambda feedback. I store this into a DynamoDB table, and I send a notification with the SNS. And that's exactly what does my application. So this is, when I discovered that was already a few months ago, that was really impressive, that I could just with one simple prompt, I could extract a diagram from my code. And I tried some other, so some other diagram, because you can extract different kind of diagrams.
Yeah, that seems huge for like being able to like onboard someone to a new code base. Yeah, this is really great.
Yeah, and yeah, this is interesting, and I use it for something. So I wanted to show some more diagrams, but like flow diagram or class diagram, and of course you can extract this quite easily from the code. And what is interesting that one thing that I tried and it works quite well. I worked a code that was not, let's say, a good code. So I extracted the diagram, the sequence diagram, and then I asked the Q developer to regenerate the code from this diagram, from this sequence diagram. And since Q developer is programming better than me, it produces a better code that I had at the beginning. So I use sometimes this technique. I extract the diagram from the code, and then I recreate the code from the diagram. This is something you can try. So I don't know. Yeah.
Question for you. Have you ever had issues with it incorrectly creating a diagram?
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes it doesn't. You can have some issues, and I mean, for this sequence diagram, it's quite good. But the thing is, and maybe I will explain this at the end more, because my prompts are quite simple. You know, I don't put any constraints or any examples, and I guess I can get a better result and more deterministic result when I have a better prompt. But
Yeah, so it's like you can use it as like a helpful tool, but you still kind of have to know what you're doing at the end of the day.
yeah, exactly. Because yeah, of course, because I mean, I know the application, so I can trust this. I know it's that, but I guess I don't know, for a bigger um, for more code with a lot of line of code and yeah, I didn't try it at a very big scale. I know it's working, but yeah, but sometimes you have to be, of course, it's generative AI. You have to be careful with what you get, and maybe that's what maybe I would recommend is to work on small pieces. For example, if you have code with multiple folders, I would recommend to focus on one folder, for example, to start with, and to extract the diagram from one folder instead of trying to get everything from the I don't know, thousands of lines of code. I guess it will work better.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to ask. I think in this day and age, people view AI as like this black box and it's going to solve all of our problems. But to a degree, it's just like a human. Sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. So,
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, yeah, I'm not saying that is something magic that will again replay things, or that augment us. That this is for me that saves time, but again, you have to be, yeah, sometimes you have to be careful with what you get, and we're still at the beginning of something. And maybe what I showed today in 1 year will be, much better, but at least we have this today. So I can access, yeah, maybe, yeah, that's what I wanted to show. The other kind of diagram that I can get. So application diagram or flow diagram, sequence diagram again, the class diagram. So you can extract multiple kind of diagram, and of course try it and be careful with what to get. And again, at the end I will repeat this, but the better your prompt, the better the result, of course. But I will give maybe some tips at the end. So far so good. I mean, I can extract code from my diagram. That's good. Extract the diagram from my code. So now I'm using this mermaid diagram is not, I prefer to use other tools that I can use with a mouse, to draw a diagram. This is good when you want to put into a README file, for example, but when you want to draw a diagram, you will need something like Draw.io. So that's what I use. And what I tried is that, so I will clear this again.
so when you generate like a mermaid diagram, I noticed you had like an empty, markdown
Yeah,
file. Do you need
yeah,
to have like an empty draw.io file so like it kind of knows where to start, or is it smart enough to just
yeah,
be like, here's a new file?
yeah. What I just prepared this because I want to prepare a file to yeah, to be ready to be filled. But for example, for Draw.io, so you need an extension. So what I will show you in a minute. Uh, I will explain this. I will just clear this, and I will ask workspace again. So workspace, I will ask it again to generate the diagram. So I ask it to generate a Draw.io diagram with the XML format, and I want to use the so I have to specify that I want to use 2024 icons, AWS 2024 icons. I want my lines to be orthogonal, and the data flow to be from up to bottom. Okay, and so let's launch this. And yeah, to work with Draw.io inside VS Code, you have to install an extension which is called Draw.io extension. So you can either open your file with a text editor. In this case, I have some just a text, a placeholder where I will put my XML result. And then when I've put my XML result, I can put this, I can open this with Draw.io inside VS Code with the Draw.io extension. I don't know if that answers your question, Daniel, but
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's like you never even
but
have to leave the IDE, which is really awesome as well, I think.
yeah, you don't have to leave the IDE, and you don't have to. I don't have to have this this XML app Draw.io XML file before I start this asking to Q developer. This is only because I want to prepare the work. I don't want to, during the demo, I don't want to create a file, etc. But you could
Mhm.
start from, you just say, okay, from this code, create a diagram, Draw.io diagram. So let's see if it works well, because that can happen sometimes that it doesn't work right away, but let's see what it. So now it will open the Draw.io diagram.
Yeah, and it's like
Okay.
powerful because you have it in your version control as well. So if someone edits it and really messes it up, then you have like past versions of it you can revert to.
Yeah, exactly. You can, yeah. And maybe again at the end I will give you some other tips, but you can, you can, exactly. You can keep a version of your diagram and work from it, because for example, so what you see here is what has been generated by Q developer. When I ask this question, can you draw my my application? So I have an API gateway. If you remember the sequence diagram, so it's the same application, an API gateway, a landing page in a Lambda function, and then feedback Lambda, where I will record my feedback, and then the SNS topic. So again, my prompt is quite simple. I can get something maybe better if I have a better prompt, but I also want to show that it's quite simple. It's quite simple to get a result quite quickly. So this is already very interesting to have this. So I started from scratch and I get a diagram in just a few minutes. But now I'm wondering, can I generate, for example, the code from this diagram? Okay, so this is something that I've tried. So I will not use this diagram right now. And before this, yes, I wanted to show you something, because you can ask question to your diagram. So you have workspace where you have you see all the the files that are in your workspace, in your folder, but you can also choose a file or a specific folder. Okay, so in this case I will select the app Draw.io XML file, that means this file, and I will ask the question so is it well architected from an AWS point of view? So now in the context, I just have one file, which is the file that I've selected here. And now it gives me, yeah, what is the if this this is a well architected architecture, so it gives me some yeah, for example, it gives me a good point that it's a serverless architecture and that really reduces operational overhead. So good. So it gives me also some potential improvements. So I could add a dead letter queue. So potential improvement, no recommendation, sorry. So for example, I can add CloudWatch for monitoring, or use a Cognito for the authentication, so to reinforce the security, etc., etc. So I can ask questions about my diagram, and it understands because it says, looking at the architecture of the diagram, I can tell you this. Okay, it's not working on the code that I have in my folder, but really is relying on the diagram. So, and it works because, of course, LLM will understand text, and the format of diagram, in fact, is text. Okay, so that means that the Q developer and the LLM behind the scene will understand this text. So at the beginning, I wasn't, yeah, I was wondering why is it working, but of course, LLM understand text, and you work with text in this diagram format. Yeah. So what I so it's already interesting, but as I said, we can do things a bit more interesting. So maybe it will be small, but not very. I mean, for the people who want to try this, it's what I do in the what I explain in the GitHub repo. So I will initialize my folder with something else, okay, with another diagram. So I init my what I call my playground, and I will choose one of the diagram that I have as a starting point for my demo. And what I do, yeah, I will maybe to make sure that the index is, I will reload the window just to make sure the index is refreshed. This is something I think tip that when you're working with a Q developer, if you so yeah, maybe it's a bit longer.
Yeah, it's just taking a while to think.
Yeah. So my yeah, because yeah, my machine is a bit loaded, so it will. Okay, but I should do this only one time. And we're going to see this appear.
Yeah, I think we're getting close. Yeah, I feel like I have this issue with VS Code as well. Great
This
tool,
is my
but
diagram. Again, there are not a lot of there's not a lot of explanations. Sorry, it's So in my diagram, there is not a lot of explanation. I did this on purpose because I wanted to know how far I could push this experiment with the Q developer. So if I can open it. So, yeah, sorry for this because I guess, yeah. Okay. So I did it on purpose. I didn't put any label, for example. I just put the, again, I want to show that we can get a result quite quickly. And you want to prototype something, you don't have to sometimes, you don't have to give a lot of information in your diagram. So in this case, I have just what I would call a media file. I put this in an S3 bucket, and then it triggers a Lambda function. And this Lambda function calls a third-party provider. So I will go to my workspace. I will use the diagram, and I will put this prompt. And again, I will read this because maybe it's small for people, but the prompt asks, can you generate an application from this draw.io diagram, from the draw.io diagram? And I have to specify that I want the code in the Lambda to be written in Python and the infrastructure as code to be written with Python CDK v2. Okay, this is what I was explaining more or less at the beginning. You have the application code that you find into your Lambda and the infrastructure code. And let's see how it works, if it works. So it takes my diagram in the context. And then it starts, so it understands that it's a CDK, so it's a, it tells me I will help you to create a CDK application based on this diagram. And this architecture shows files that are uploaded in S3 bucket, a Lambda function that process these files, and a Lambda function communicate with a third-party provider. And it has enough information you need to generate my CDK code. And for example, my S3 bucket, my Lambda function with two environment variables. So it makes the assumption that I will use a third-party API key, a third-party API endpoint. So this is, it gives the right permissions. So it allows my Lambda function to read into the S3 bucket, and then adds the event notification. So I don't have to tell that I want to trigger a notification from the S3 bucket. And then I have my Lambda code, and this Lambda code contains, it's consistent. So it will, for example, call my third-party provider doing a request with the parameters that are sent into my Lambda function. For example, the third-party endpoint. In here, the third-party API key. So from there, so from that diagram, I could just create these folders, and I can copy paste my my code. So this is the simplest thing that you can do, generating code from diagram. And the idea is that when you have an idea which is not really clear, that's how I sometimes, quite often use it. I just put my ideas onto the diagram, and I use this kind of prompt, and I get quite interesting result. So I don't know if you have any question at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, that seemed rather fast. Have you had issues with speed at all with generating? Or is it like the
No,
bigger the diagram, the longer it's going to take kind of situation?
no, I think no, it's quite. I mean, of course, the more you have information into your diagram, the more you will have text that will be output, the
Mhm.
longer it will take. But it's quite, the speed is quite good. Sometimes I have it's quite rare, but that can happen that sometimes it stops and tells me, okay, I cannot go further. But I just have to, yes, I just have to retry. But really, because I use it quite a lot, but it's quite rare. Otherwise, you have quite quickly an answer at very good speed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed off of just just seeing this. Like, you know, like you mentioned, it's a simpler diagram, but still, this
Yeah.
is great
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
brainstorming.
Yeah, first, yeah, when you want to, again, that's why I say you can generate faster because you don't have to write your prompts and say, okay, I want the media file and then put this into S3. Yeah, and your prompt, how do you save your prompt? Even if you can, I mean, you can save a diagram, go back to a diagram, change your diagram, regenerate something different, etc., etc. So it's good for prototyping and, as you said, for brainstorming. But and what I can show you, it's because okay, well, let's do something a bit more maybe a bit more complex. I will show you another diagram. Yeah, what I call a data pipeline. Okay, just will we open it because it was something was missing in the diagram. Okay, so it's almost the same, but I have a media file that I put in an S3 bucket, and then I have an event bridge, meaning an event bridge rule. But again, I do something very, I don't want to be too much accurate. I want to understand how far I can go and how far it can understand things. And then I have a step function workflow. And maybe this is, I can, yeah, I can make this bigger, but I've created notes. Okay. And for example, I've created a note where I say, I want my object to be versioned into this bucket. Okay. I want customer KMS key, customer managed key. I want this lambda to make a simple addition, 1 plus 1. This one to do 2 plus 2 or 3 plus 3 for this one. So again, I've put simple notes, but this is something sometimes I do. And what I can ask, for example, is so I will clear this. And what I can ask maybe is, so I take the diagram again, and then we ask to generate the Python CDK code plus the lambda code here, but for the step function workflow only. Okay, that means that I can focus on one part of the diagram. So let's see if that works well. So I take this. Okay, so you see it takes the nodes into account. For example, my first function returns 1 plus 1. That's exactly what I wrote, and I link to this lambda function. 2 plus 2 for this one, and 3 plus 3 for this one. And then it creates my workflow. And So it creates the CDK code for the Lambda function to create my Lambda function, and the workflow, the step function workflow that will orchestrate my Lambda functions. Okay, and again, this is something I can copy paste into my project structure. So this is something I use quite often because it's quite quick, as you said, it's quite quick, and you can quickly ask question about your diagram. Again, is it well architected? Can you generate this part of the diagram? And ask question this way. Then another thing, I do this with the CDK and Python because that's what I use these days. But you could ask it to generate a CloudFormation template or Terraform template, or maybe instead of Python in your Lambda, you could use Ruby or TypeScript or whatever you like.
Yeah, so like if you're like a CDK specialist, but you are a working with someone who knows Terraform better. Yeah,
Yeah,
this seems
yeah.
super powerful to kind of get that like blank slate of, where do you even start?
Yeah, and I know that because and I know that it's also worked quite well with Terraform. Even if I don't use Terraform, I know people who are using Terraform with Q developer knows told me that it's working well. So you should have similar results with Terraform, for example, which is more common in companies. But now I say that you have to copy paste things, and there is a way to generate a complete folder structure inside your folder. And for this, you need to so I will clear this. You need you so you have what I've done so far is with workspace. I mean, with the files that you have in your folder. But you have agents, and you have one agent called the dev agent, and you can do the same thing. You can say, okay, you type /dev, and then you can, with the same prompt, I can use the same prompt. I can ask with /dev. I can ask with the same prompt, can you generate my application from this draw IO diagram? I want the code to be in the Lambda to be written in Python. I want Python CDK v2 as in infrastructure code. So this is something I've tried. So I will click on dev, and then it will start analyzing my diagram and preparing all the files that I need to deploy my application. So the thing is, we're not gonna wait because it will take about 4 minutes, 3 minutes more or less. So what I will do is to simulate where we will find, because you will find this in the GitHub repo. There is a result that I recorded, okay, and I will just fill my folder with all the files that I had in a previous generation from dev. Okay, so the result that we should have here, I just recorded this from a previous generation, and we will find it here. Okay, so I just do that. Okay, so you see now in that my folder has an application, a CDK stack with all that I need. I mean, my Lambda 1, Lambda 2, Lambda 3 with all the Lambda function, my my workflow, etc. Everything that I have in my sorry, I will have to open the diagram again, but everything that I have in my diagram has been generated by dev, and with /dev. And you see it's working at the moment, and I will get some similar result. So everything has been generated, and then when I get that, I can do something like CDK deploy. And so depending on the diagram, you will have something that will be working right away, and so yeah, just so yeah, is I will just specify that I will use the a specific file because okay. So the CDK, do the CDK deploy, okay? So I will have something that will be deployed. Yeah, so most of the time that will work right away, but I think you will always almost, I mean, not always, but I would say 1 time over 3, 2 time over 3, you will have to change something. I mean, the with this type of diagram, you will have to understand what you're doing. I mean, you can have little thing that you have to change. I will give you an example. For example, each time I generate this diagram, code from that diagram, the rule in the event bridge is not working well. Okay, so I just have to change the rule. Okay, and then it's working. But I just want to point out that you can, so at least with this size of diagram, it's working. But if something is not correct, you will have to look into the code. So that means that you still have to be a coder. I mean, you still have to be a programmer. I don't think anytime soon you will be able to just draw diagrams and then never look at the codes. Okay, be reassured about this. There is still, I mean, something to fix. But again, that saves you time and you can do more complex things.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
pretty powerful to get that blank slate, and then you just kind of have to go in and audit and make sure it's what you wanted it to be. So
yeah, and yeah, and and just to show you a quick demo, because you know what you have here is the kind of thing that I get here from the previous generation again. But let's see just an example. What has been generated by the /dev is, for example, this lambda function that returns 1+1. So once deployed, and that you have just fixed the little issues that you have, I will show you the result. Um, so let's go to the console this time. So I have all my resources that's been created. So just notice again. I don't know if I can um, make it bigger, but this is a versioned bucket. That means that if you remember that I have a note that says, okay, I want my object to be versioned. So it has created a version bucket. Again, it took this note into account. And if I go to this bucket, and I will just drop a little test, let's say my media file that I wanted to upload into my 3 bucket. And let's go to step functions. So, and now I have my step function that has been triggered and executed. So yeah, April, I mean, this is just, that was just created. And then let's have a look at my step function. So it's working. I mean, I have 1 + 1 = 2. And that's what I wanted for my first task, for example. And I mean, again, just from a simple simple diagram, I mean, quite simple diagram, you can go quite fast. And when you have an idea in mind and that you want to test something, and you are not an step function expert, or I don't know, or whatever, you can go quite fast.
Looks like we have a chat question. I'll pop that up
Yes.
here from
Okay.
Buff Tomato. Are you creating the diagrams yourself and then having Q read them, or having Q generate them as well?
Yeah, so so I create the at the beginning I was showing that you can extract the diagram. Do you remember my application with a feedback application? But this one, for example, I draw the diagram. Okay, so first I draw a diagram. You can also so maybe I can give you I will give you another example to answer this. Yeah. I will
Yeah,
give you
I think
another
you can do
example. Yeah.
both, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do both, exactly. And this diagram, I draw the diagram. You can take a diagram, a draw IO diagram that you have created already, and try this. I mean, you take the same prompt, you put the diagram into your folder, like I do with the uh, draw IO integration in VS Code, for example, and then you apply the same prompt that I use, the one you will find in my GitHub repo. And that should work. At least you should get a result, and that fix a few things if needed. So I guess
Yeah, I put up the GitHub repo link on the stream
yeah
for
yeah
folks joining later.
yeah
Yeah, if you want to test this out, there's a really cool playground that he created. So if you want to try it on
yeah
your own and use the same prompts that he's used on the stream, and then just kind of experiment further to see how far you can take it, this is a good starting point, I think.
yeah exactly. Yeah, you can replay exactly what I do, what you see. You can replay this with this GitHub repo and the link. Yeah. So so this is so I will give you the /dev agent again. The idea is that you will be able to um, create a diagram, a code from the diagram, and you don't have to copy paste any data, because the /dev agent will write into your folder. So maybe this is something we can just to show you quickly. So yeah, so I could, for example, I generated this code from this diagram that I drew myself, and then I can accept all these changes. Okay, that I can check before, so I accept all the changes, and you will see everything that will be pasted into my folder, and then I can begin to deploy, start to deploy things and fix things if needed. Again, that works quite well, at least for me, that works quite well, and quite most of the time right away. So yeah.
Yeah, I think ideally it's just like tiny changes. Like, yeah, one thing I would add to this that the AI did not add in was like a git ignore file.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. Yeah, honestly, I'm
Yeah.
pretty impressed.
And yeah, and just maybe yeah, I will show just this you know, the application that I was talking about at the beginning. This is that looks like the draw out diagram that I've extracted at the beginning, but this is something I draw myself. And again, I can generate interactive application. Again, this simple example, a feedback application, and then I get a quite good result with let's just have a look quickly, but I have a link, an output link, and this is given by Amazon Q developer. Again, I don't have to, and then I have a feedback form. Again, the code of the feedback form has been generated. That means that I think it's interesting. I don't have to tell, for example, in this example, I don't have to tell, okay, this is a web page. This web page, you will have a form with this field and this field. All these, in fact, this diagram with this information is enough to understand that it will need a form with which looks like something like this, which will look like this. I mean, this form, I never coded this form. I mean, this is Q developer that has coded this form. And in this landing page function, and this diagram is enough for Q developer to understand what I need in the form. This is also, I mean, quite impressive.
Yeah, and then you can also go the opposite way too, right? So like if I add a lambda to my code and then I want to update the diagram so people on my team are looking at a up-to-date diagram, is that possible?
You mean if in your code you add a new lambda function and you want to update the diagram, you want to keep it updated?
Yeah, or like maybe to keep it simpler, like with this example, like if I was just like, oh, I don't need that SNS topic anymore, and I deleted it from my CDK code, could I ask you to update the draw.io diagram for me?
Yeah, I think you can ask this. I didn't
Cool.
do it that way, and that's what I want to maybe to conclude with. I want to show you something else that you can use with Q, where you can keep your diagram in sync with your code. But what you're telling me maybe is that you want to keep your code in sync with your diagram, and this is something. Yeah, I think it's possible, but I didn't try it so much. But maybe with what I will show you, just to as a conclusion, maybe I can show you that there is a desktop chat here, but since a few weeks ago, we can use chat in the terminal, what we call the QCLI. And what is possible to do is something like this. So I will need to, for example, okay, let me copy paste this. So again, I will init my playground. I will use another diagram. Okay, very simple diagram with an API gateway and a mock integration. That means, yeah, a mock behind the scene that will answer always the same question. Give always the same answer. So this is something you have to install, but you type Q chat. Again, sorry if it's a bit small, but you type qchat and you have a prompt. Yeah, and you can type your prompt. For example, I will again use the same prompt. Can you generate the application from the draw diagram? I want some the lambda code. There is no lambda in this case, but I want the lambda code to be in Python and the CDK v2 for the infrastructure. And it starts thinking. Okay. And so this time, yeah. Okay, so it doesn't find my diagram this time, but most of the time it will look for the diagram, okay, and do exactly the same thing that you would do with the slash the workspace, okay, but it will write the the files into my folder. So maybe yeah, and what I can, so let's say that it's working. I don't know why it's not working. Maybe I did not refresh the index, but anyway, so I can, what is interesting that I can add some context, okay, to this and the context that means that I can add some files, and in these files I can put my rules, okay, and that's what I wanted to show you, is that I can so I init my diagram with rules in this case. So I again and I don't know why it's not working. Okay, give me 1 second.
No worries. Yeah, this is a live demo, folks.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're a very
This
courageous
is
person.
yeah. Just give me 1 second because I can copy paste this quickly.
Yeah, and while you're working on that, I am seeing the GitHub repo that we linked prior if you want to test this out. If you look under tutorial starting points, Q rules, Amazon Q/rules, there is a rules MD file if you want to see what one looks like.
Yeah. And the idea here is that I can, so maybe, yeah, what I will do is quickly okay, so that's what I wanted to have. So I created in a .amazon q rules folder, okay, at the root of my my folder. I create this MD markdown rule, and I said when asked to generate an application, search for the draw diagram first, then use Python 3.9 for the lambda function, and then use the CDK for the infrastructure as code. And that means that, and that's what is interesting with this, and this context rules works also with a workspace. That is interesting, and so that helps me to, for example, allow me to do things like that. So I do a Q chat, and then instead of typing my big prompt, you remember, I will just type generate application. So what I mean by application is this application. So let's see if it works this time. So it starts thinking. So it tells me, so let's first search for the draw out diagram, okay? And it's proposed me a command to find this. So, okay, it say, I found the draw IO diagram now. Let's examine what it contains. So now, so based on the diagram, I generate application with API gateway with mock integration. So that's what in the diagram. And then it tells me I will use the Python CDK v2, okay, for the infrastructure as code, and then the Python 3.9 for the Lambda code, but there is no Lambda in this case. And if I carry on, it will propose me, to if I say yes, it will create all the files that I need to again to have this code ready to be deployed. Okay, and this is very I think very interesting, because maybe to answer your questions, I think in one way I did this in one way, that maybe, for example, I can add a lambda function, for example, and if I want, for example, a lambda authorizer, so I can, create my and update my diagram iteratively, okay, and add things, and then add my queue chat in this case to generate my application again and keep it in sync, the code in sync with my diagram. So I could show this. Maybe we are. I don't know if we have time to go to the end of this, but I think at least you get the idea that first I generate a first diagram. With my rules, I don't have to spend time, repeating always the same thing, and I can create this iteratively. So in this way that works, I can add things in my diagram and ask you to synchronize the diagram with my codes. But the other way around should be possible as well, but it's a good idea that I should I should try as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty powerful stuff, I think. And I think the big theme that probably both of us have been saying is you still got to know what you're doing. Use it
Yeah.
as like a super smart autocomplete and kind of ideation if you're, thinking more in a diagram. I know I always do personally, but yeah, this is pretty huge, just to kind of make us all more productive and be able to better communicate what our code does.
Yeah, exactly. You can keep in sync. You have a documentation that you can keep in sync again with your project. Again, that's something. Yeah, this is something. Again, you have to understand what you do, and but it augments your capabilities and human capabilities, because you can't. Even if you are a serverless expert, you don't know every services. You don't know how to design or to parameterize this or this service. So it's sometimes easier and faster to express yourself into a diagram and then ask a coding assistant to generate it for you. I mean, at least this is something that works for me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes we all need a little help or like an extra set of eyes, and yeah, this is huge. Do you want to close up with, just kind of like best practices, tips, and tricks before we head out?
Yeah. So yeah, So maybe, yeah, the first thing is that maybe don't try first to start with two big diagrams. Start first maybe to extract the diagrams from the code. Maybe it's the simplest thing. That's something that works quite well. Then if you want to, again, as I said earlier, when you have extracted a diagram from a code that you can start from this diagram to generate the code. And you can do this from a draw diagram. You can do this from a mermaid diagram. You have multiple options. So I will start like this, and then try to again to I mean don't give up if your prompt doesn't work right away. Just rewrite your prompt, give more details or examples, or express what you want, and it should work.
Yeah, we had a comment from Jonathan here. This is great. Most things I learned through Believe in Serverless. It's only my incompetence that stands in the way of taking advantage of it.
But in this situation, when you are, of course, you have to know again what you're doing, and things uh, that you want to use. But really, queue and in my case, diagram can help you a lot.
Yeah, don't be afraid to experiment, start small and then just kind of get your
Yeah,
confidence up. And I probably wouldn't advise like starting in a prod account, for example.
yeah,
But
of course, yeah.
yeah, definitely agree with all this. Yeah, this is really good stuff. I, I've, yeah, we were talking before the stream, and I mostly use GitHub Copilot. This has kind of got me wanting to maybe try Amazon Q again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to compare those because I only use Q. I don't have time to to test other coding assistants. But I think you can. I think you can do pretty much the same thing with another coding assistant. But don't hesitate to try Q because it has a good pace of innovation. These days, it's going very very fast, and you have many features that are coming and are interesting features.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, I don't think either of us know the answer to this, but this has kind of got me thinking, like, if you use like a vendor agnostic, thing, a cloud vendor agnostic, like maybe like Claude or something like that, if you could like take a diagram and be like, create the infrastructure as code for this for AWS, but also create it for Cloudflare or something like that. That would be
Yeah, you could. Yeah, of
interesting.
course. Yeah. I think we are really at the beginning of something. I don't know if it's something that will be be used by everybody. I don't know this year, for example. But I guess we still have a lot to discover, to test, and to try. And this is the kind of idea that I hope that will I will ignite. If people want to try, for example, can I use that with another cloud provider? Can I use that with Cloudflare, etc. With another LLM, etc. So I guess
Yeah, like
yeah,
great for learning,
with
in a controlled environment, of course, because we don't
of
want
course.
people using our stuff for it to be broken, of course. But
Yeah.
does anyone in the chat have any questions here? Last call for that. Otherwise, both of us are in the Believe in Serverless Discord. Yesterday, I actually just created a hashtag AI channel. So if you do have any follow-up questions, like you clone his repo and, run into problems or just have questions or even just want to share something cool that you built with it, we're all about that. So definitely feel free to share with us.
Mm,
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think I see
good.
any questions. Do you have any final thoughts, Olivier, before we head out?
Oh no, I think I said pretty much what I wanted to say and to show. And again, I hope that will inspire people. And as you said, maybe if people have feedback in the Discord channels, if you want to ask questions, don't hesitate. We are here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really, really appreciate this work that you've been doing. It seems pretty unique. Shout out to Samuel Locke for suggesting that you give a talk here. So I would love to see more chatter like this. So very
Okay.
cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. So I'm going to end
Great.
the stream here. Thanks for
Okay.
joining, everyone. And we can continue the chat in the Discord if you'd like to join us. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining again.
Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.